Hey, how's it going?
Welcome to our monthly news channel.
And the good news this month is that we finally saw some signs of the inflation cooling down because companies in the States. Oh yeah, it's really sad.
Maria here.
I'll start off real quick with what I do so people can know a bit about us. I've been working in the US for a couple of years, working for an asset management firm in Boston. So Jinny and I are actually having a time zone difference of 3 hours because she's based in California.
Hi, this is Jinny. I've been in the Bay Area for 6 years. First 5 years to finish my PhD in applied maths. And this year, I have started working as an applied scientist in the tech industry. Recently, I just finished my first job hooking to a biotech startup for early cancer detection.
So we were best friends in high school, and we haven't met for years before your trip to Boston last month when we went for a hiking trip together.
And we talked for hours and hours about life, job, what's happening around us when we were not around with each other. And in the end, we had the idea of starting this channel together for our version of Girls Talk about the biggest news in tech or finance monthly.
This is the first video for our channel, and let's talk about what was going on in November.
We look funny in these avatars.
Yeah. A major piece of the market stories that I want to share today is many may have heard about already FTX implosion and the crypto contagion.
Sure.
Yeah, don't be freaked out if you're new to this area. I guess it would be really helpful if we first figure out what a few terms mean in order to understand what was going on here.
Yeah, I'm also just new to the Web3 fields until like last month.
Yeah, I've heard you picked up a lot in this field lately. Do you have anything to share?
So the most basic thing I learned about Web3, it's so-called the next generation of internet. The first generation, Web 1, is the read-only internet. And the second generation, we can both read and write. Like we can make our posts on Facebook and Instagram. And then for Web 3, we're not only allowed to both read and write, but also like own our piece of data, like own the user data by ourselves. So usually people learn about Web3 starting from like Bitcoin, ETH, those cryptocurrencies. And then it's like natural to have the cryptocurrency exchange, like hash funds, and also a lot of other things like coming out of this more complicated financial system.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start off with FTX here. It's an international cryptocurrency exchange founded in 2019. And just 2 years later, it had over 1 million users and became the third largest crypto exchange by volume.
Yeah. So what are the other two and their valuations?
The other two are Binance and Coinbase. And here are their valuations. In the meanwhile, FTX Group offers its own token called FTT.
So token is just like their own cryptocurrency, right?
Right. The way I see it is kind of a utility token, or say a currency to reduce trading fees or to serve as a collateral.
Cool.
And SBF is the co-founder and CEO of FTX. He was once worth $26 billion and was likened to JP Morgan in the crypto world, of course.
Sure. You know what's funny? So my manager also went to MIT as an undergrad, and she kind of know SBF in school. And during our meeting this Monday gathering, she mentioned that it just made her notice that several of her friends are starting to go to jail.
Who would have thought that? And here we also have to mention another crypto trading firm called Alameda Research, which was also founded by him. So what happened was on the 2nd of this month, the news kind of came out that the Alameda's balance sheets had huge issues, and their main asset is their sister company's token, FTT. Its opponent, Binance, on the 6th, I believe, announced that it would sell its FTT tokens.
So I guess the FTT's price must be dropping a lot by then?
Yep. In response, its price plummeted and traders rushed to pull out of FTX in the fear that it would be another fallen crypto company, right? So as a result, the liquidity of FTX was coming into a crunch. And what's even worse was that Binance backed out of an acquisition deal because of corporate due diligence and the so-called news reports regarding mishandled customer funds and U.S. agency investigations.
Yeah, I guess I can also share a little bit about Binance and FTX and their relationship. Binance is now the largest cryptocurrency exchange, and it was founded by a Chinese-Canadian CZ. So CZ was a quant trader before he went into the crypto world, and he was actually one of the largest early investors for FTX. And then later on, apparently SBF got successful and really rich, and he donated a lot of money to politicians. He was like one of the largest supporters in Washington, D.C. And then he was having this kind of really friendly gesture to regulations and political censorship in the crypto world, which annoyed apparently a lot of people in Web3 fields. And then later on, it's like it also become one of the largest competitor for Binance. So actually their relationship became bad. And then Binance was in the beginning of this crisis trying to save FTX, like offering an acquisition. And later on, maybe they figure out they cannot actually handle it or something. And then they just announced that they'll just back out of this acquisition, which make it even worse for FTX.
Exactly. So this domino effect led the company to file for bankruptcy, and SBF transferred billions of user funds to its sister company Alameda. But between $1 and $2 billion of those funds just disappeared.
Yeah, this has been crazy. And this is already the second huge collapse in the crypto world this year, right?
Right. Yeah. Luna crash, or say Terra USD collapse, was another big one earlier this year that made the headlines for weeks, right? And that was about $25 billion US.
Yeah, and also it was supposed to be the so-called stable coin that's designed to reduce the volatility in the crypto market by maintaining a fixed value over time.
Yeah. So the fears of crypto contagion are still growing, and the collapse of FTX will probably lead to more destruction in the crypto industry. We'll definitely keep an eye on that front. Another heated topic this month in the finance world is, of course, inflation-related and Fed rate hikes. The good news this month is that we finally saw some signs of the inflation cooling down. Consumer Price Index, or CPI, came in at 7.7% in October when compared with a year earlier.
So what is CPI, by the way?
It's a price index to gauge inflation. You can kind of think of it as a basket of consumer goods and services that people purchase, like food, energy, rent, houses, etc.
So is it like a weighted average of how expensive a lot of consumer goods are?
Yeah.
I see. So does it mean that everything is cheaper by 7.7% on average?
No. Overall, everything is more expensive by 7.7% compared to the same month last year. But if we take a look at this chart, it's obvious that the pace of the increase has been slower.
I see. Makes sense.
So actually there are so many stuff to talk about here because it has great impacts on our day-to-day life. That can possibly mean that the rent you're paying, the gas price, or the price on food either at restaurants or at grocery stores are finally growing at a slower pace. How'd you like that?
Thanks God. Did you know how expensive it was for dining at a restaurant in Colorado here?
How much? I'm curious.
It's like, so it's basically been crazy this year and last year. And a very average restaurant we go to in Palo Alto downtown is like $50 per person on average.
$50. Oh, no wonder people call Palo Alto the center of the universe.
Yeah, but you also mentioned Fed rates, right? What is the relationship between Fed rates and inflation?
Oh, that's a good question. When inflation is too high, the Federal Reserve typically raises interest rates to slow the economy and bring inflation down. So that's what we're seeing here, right? Fed continued to raise rates, and by making borrowing more expensive, the inflation can be slowed down, and therefore we see a relatively lower CPI print.
So yeah, I guess one thing I keep hear people talking about these all the time is how the housing price in the Bay Area are dropping these days. That must be related to, right?
Right. Fed's rate hikes are definitely having a huge impact on mortgage rates, because as Fed fund rate increases, it serves as a benchmark for almost every other rate. So the mortgage rates are skyrocketing too. And that deterred many people who had to lend money in order to afford buying a house.
Very clear. Can't wait for another low CPI print then.
Yeah, there are really so many things to talk about here. So please leave messages or comments out here if you want to hear more about the mechanism, either regarding Fed or about interest rates in general. So we can probably make another video specifically about this topic.
Yep. Of news I have been hearing this month in the Bay Area is, of course, the layoff of big tech companies in the States.
Oh yeah, it's really sad.
Yeah, a lot of sad news this month, and I do know a few friends who were just kicked out of Meta when they were still in their boot camp during their first few weeks. Yeah, I actually gave one friend a referral to my company, and just in case if anyone listening will be interested, just DM me and I'll be more than willing to help.
Yep, please stay tuned for our next episode. We'll share more about this topic then.
Bye.
See ya.